Here we are, Saturday in sunny South Florida. Last video I spoke about those giubos slash couplers on these C5, C6 Corvettes, actually C7 as well. But I wanted to show you our buddy Scott, who came in this past week with some issues with his road race car. He's actually been big in the NASA rides, won the state of Florida championship a couple times, I believe. So really big on the road racing side of things. Last race he was in, going to third, heard something pop, didn't have any movement with the drivetrain, he knew it was something. He originally thought it was his T56, which is actually a stock unit, holding up over all these years. He's got about 12,000 miles on the car, 10,000 racing, so he's put some damage through the driveline. So far, we haven't found anything crazy with the trans, but flip side of that, we opened up the torque tube, and lo and behold, as I was showing you last time, I showed you some cracked ones last time. This is the true destruction that goes on with them. Sheared right off the drive shaft. The rubber is completely gone and shot. Bolts are twisted and bent. You know, even the front input shaft here, you can see on the metal side, I mean, you got to zoom in, but it's actually bent some of the metal on that. And then obviously the drive shaft itself is gone. This also takes out the torque tube because the bearing's right on the front and the back. So instead of trying to use any part of this, we just went online, getting another one that has a full setup. But what I ordered already from RPM are two things: the high-speed ceramic bearings for the front and the back on the torque tube, and then we're going to go with the billet couplers this time. Get rid of this rubber. He's a road racer. He doesn't care about the NVH that's going on with everything. That way we get set up there. We are still going to go through the transmission, again, being that it hasn't been gone through at all. Just some little upgrades there, the bronze fork pads, all new synchros all the way through, just because he's having a little bit of issues, you know, 1, 2, and 3, 4. And let's see, all new bearings, you know, this stuff just to refresh it all the way from start to finish. Hopefully nothing else inside is bad. We're going to open that up early next week to see what's going on there. On top of that, we are switching over here to RPM diff. So this one, 342 still, because that's, you know, he's had this car so long, that's what he's used to on the gearing side of things. And this one's got the Quaife differential inside of it, you know, the beefed up axles and whatnot. His stock one's here, he'll just have that as a backup. Actually still is in good condition, but rather beef it up with the stronger diff inside and the stronger hard parts before throwing it all in, especially at this point in time. And then on the bottom here, we got the C5 axles. He still has his stock C6 here. One of them is torn. So we're just gonna throw in the C5s there and kind of button it back up. The clutch is good. He's only had that for a couple races. But again, he completely got broken down in the last race. He thought it was trans. Luckily it wasn't, because I was thinking it was actually I was gonna be seeing a output shaft sticking right out of the rear diff. We didn't see anything like that. It turns okay now, but again, we're going to open it up just to make sure everything's looking okay, on top of, you know, just doing the small upgrades that are normally done on these T56s. And we'll get him back in racing. And you know, end of May he has a race. Today is May 1st, so a couple more weeks he's got to be rocking and rolling. And he wants to, you know, get some testing on it as well. So the cool thing is, throughout the whole car, I forget what class he's in specifically, but he's got it all done up nicely for his road race setups. We just really wanted to show the true carnage and destruction of what these giubos and drive shafts take, especially with a good amount of power. This motor, you know, what, 505 from the factory. This one's probably a little bit bump up more than that. I see some things done, but again, class specific, it can only have a certain amount of power, a certain type of suspension, so he's keeping it all to the realms of that. But it'd be cool. It's a good sounding car. You got rid of the mufflers, kind of has some straight pipes. And again, you could get rid of all the emission stuff and everything interior wise when you're doing these race cars. Funny part is, when all is said and done, he actually still retains the factory AC. Some of his races, he's, you know, allowed to use them, or he's sitting in the pits for so long, he cranks it on. So even though he's cruising in especially all the racing he does here in Florida, it's a lifesaver in most of those situations in the summertime especially. So we'll be hooking them up, putting everything back together, opening up the trans, going through that. But this is pretty typical on these Corvettes, especially stock ones that get abused to this level. there's going to be an expectation if you drive it that hard, parts are going to break, grenade, snap, break, and everything else in between. And so you have to have expectations that that's going to happen too. And Scotty, of course, he races this hard, so he knows that's going on. But the rest of the car is pretty cool. You know, the big old stop tech brakes up front, all the external coolers up front. So we'll have them back on the road pretty soon. Just all the parts are ordered; they're just on their way in, and waiting on UPS and FedEx from here on out. So just wanted to give you a quick little update with what we see here on the C6, Z06 side of things. Keeping with our Corvette weekly scenario, I guess. Everyone and their mother and brother are bringing them in, which is awesome. I love Vettes, as I mentioned, and keep bringing them in because my main tech that works on these now he's known them before, but now that he's coming on a weekly basis, he's getting them in and out pretty quick. So till next time, keep on watching, check out everything else here, and we'll keep throwing more Corvettes. I think I got an old Camaro coming in soon too. So switch out from the realms of our minivans and little SUVs here. All right, thanks. All right, another sunny day, South Florida here. Another Corvette, C5 came in. Nice thing with this, 13,000 miles. Cherry, kind of gone through the family a little bit. And now the youngest son is driving, so he's able to get this nice one, which is pretty cool for the family tie side of things. 13,000 miles. Problem came in was clutch issues. So we're thinking, geez, such low mileage, what could go wrong? But it's a 99, so we got 22 years worth of seals and bearings and fluid that can be bad if it's all original, which possibly sure it was. And how we do the test on these, or most manual transmissions, push the clutch all the way in, pop it in first gear, give it a little bit of gas. If it starts moving, that's usually an initial indicator that the pressures just aren't holding up. So either we got something wrong with the master, something wrong with the slave, or a possible leak in between those two. Especially with the low miles on this, we didn't think the clutch would be that bad, but you don't know until you tear it apart. So initially came in for new master, new slave. Then we said, hey, we'll look at the clutch when we get everything apart and go into it. And the clutch was actually burned up a little bit. Flywheel had some hot spots. Someone was riding it, a little too long, maybe caught in traffic or something to that extent. Because in Florida it's so flat, usually you don't get those hills that you're worried about more in the Northeast, Midwest and such. So had a little bit of burn to it. We said, hey, we're in there, might as well do it now. So that's what we did. But as you can see, clean car all the way through. Interior is like brand new. It's just nice to see these still kept and ready to rock along and get some more life out of them. 21-year-old car, 22-year-old car. Hopefully it gets many, many more going down the road, and actually hopefully put a lot more miles on it, right? That's the thing we want to do, is enjoy them a little bit more. So took everything down, just like we were mentioning before. It's a lot of labor to get everything down and out of the way to do these clutches, because they're all the way at the front, and with the rear and transmission stuck in the back and that torque tube, there's, I don't know, 40, 50 of those 8mm bolts underneath. That's actually the most time consuming. Those suckers take forever. Get everything out the way and pop through. And then, even underneath, when we did the master and such, not too hard, but we want to make sure everything is doing what it's supposed to do and get up to standard to do a nice road trip, cruise around town for whatever it is, and enjoy it much more than they were enjoying it before, since it kind of was stored for so long. And that's another thing. If it's been stored for 10, 15 years and only driven a little bit, your seals and gaskets are kind of very, very common for those to work their way through and get a little bit of leakage. But keeping in the Corvette theme here, again, following my bloodline. I just want to keep them rolling, keep them coming in because I enjoy them so much, and I like seeing them come through the shop. The guys enjoy working on them because now, they're pretty used to taking these out and popping them in. So each time you do it, it gets a little bit faster, a little bit easier, and you know what to look for. We even took the drive shaft out on this one to look at those giubos just because of what happened with the last one. They're all in good shape. Again, 13,000 miles and hasn't really been raced, so those are all intact. So we just popped that back in. But it's just another step in the inspections that we need to do on all these cars. Because if you knock it out now, you save a lot of labor down the line and/or vibrations and such for the customer. So another Corvette, another sunny day. Keep it going, South Florida. Thanks.